Welcome to Cloud Gaming X. My name is Sunny, and in today's Google Stadia review video, I'm going to break down this service with all the pros and cons from a guy who's been using it since launch way back in November and had to be convinced to even bother to give this service a shot like so many of you might be feeling now. So if you're new to cloud gaming and Google Stadia, this is the video for you. So let's get started. First, before I get started, if you're interested in cloud gaming, this is the channel to be on. Sub to this channel for all Stadia and cloud gaming content, as well as hit that notification bell. And if you enjoy the video, please smash the like button. But to say that Google Stadia since its launch has had negative press after negative press, as well as a rough launch, would be an understatement. And prior to me playing this service, I was like many of you. Cloud gaming in my eyes was years away from being a thing, from even being viable. Even testing out services like GeForce Now and xCloud did nothing to convince to me that the reality of cloud gaming is a thing yet. But then Google Stadia came, and well, things have changed. Now the service itself isn't perfect by any means, and don't worry, I'll be breaking down the cons in full context. But let's get started with the service itself. It's a cloud gaming platform, meaning in layman's terms, Google has these ultra powerful servers somewhere, and well, they run all your gaming there. While the gaming is playing on their servers, it's streaming to you. Whether that's through your cell phone or Chrome browser via laptop or computer or TV, every button press goes back to those servers. It's a very fluid process that has you gaming on whatever screen you can get your hands on. But if you're wondering how is this possible to where you can do this and not feel like it's lagging or it's a step slow, well, there's where I had my doubts too. But frankly, while it's not one for one like local hardware, we're talking mere milliseconds of a difference. The process at which this service runs your games is truly amazing and something I have yet to see as good with other cloud platforms, and really makes for the fact that I've never been able to tell that I'm even streaming a game and that it's not running locally. Now, while Google Stadia isn't a Netflix for games, you have to look at Stadia like a standalone service or platform or gaming console. A console you never have to upgrade for the rest of your life, unlike having to upgrade to the latest console every 4 to 5 years or never having to upgrade another computer part. All the upgrades in the future will be handled by Google, and all you have to do is worry about buying the latest games. Stadia is meant to always be upgraded alongside the current generation of gaming, and even in some cases be a step ahead of it. And while the pricing benefit of never having to upgrade ever again sounds good, we do have to take a look at the pricing model and see if it's worth the price of admission. Now, Stadia works itself out in two ways. You can be a Pro member at the cost of $9.99 a month, which grants you access to 4K resolution, 5.1 surround sound, as well as getting access to the Stadia Pro exclusive discounts. Non-Pro members don't receive that. To top it off, you get a minimum of 2 to 3 games a month for free. As long as you remain a Pro member, you will have access to those games. But what if you're not a Pro member? Well, regardless, you have access to purchasing any games on the Stadia store. Once you buy a game, you keep that game forever in your library, regardless if you're a Pro member or not. You'll have the ability to boot that game up from a phone, laptop, or the TV if you have the ChomeCast Ultra, and will be able to play those games up to 1080p. Now, Stadia only has 2 pieces of hardware associated with it, and the service doesn't need either to function. You have the Google Stadia controller, which if you decide to invest in, is a great piece of hardware. The controller feels smooth and solid, similar to the Nintendo Switch controller in looks, but takes the Xbox One gamepad and Sony's dual sticks designs, but feels more sturdy, and the buttons and triggers just feel more responsive and impactful. It also features a Google Assistant button with voice features that is still a work in progress, as well as a USB-C port and a 3.5mm headphone jack. But the biggest key with the controller is the dedicated Wi-Fi connection it will have that goes straight to the Google servers for minimal input latency to make your gaming that much better. But despite what I feel is a great controller, it is not a needed piece of hardware, as Stadia runs with any controller you can plug directly into your laptop computer or Bluetooth with your phone. And that brings me to the last piece of hardware. If you want that home console feel and the ability to play on your TV, you can invest in the ChomeCast Ultra, a device that you can plug into your TV via HDMI port and stream it over your television as high as up to 4K resolution, and gives you that home console feel, but once again not necessary to run Stadia. Now, with the internet speeds needed to run Stadia, they are as follows. You need 10 megabit per second for 720p 60 fps in stereo, 20 megabits per second for 1080p and 5.1 surround, and 35 megabits per second for 4K resolution. And as someone who's had this for 6 months, those numbers are pretty accurate. As for the games, which is typically the most important part of any gaming platform, let's break that down in full. Now, at the moment, the library of games on Stadia leaves much to be desired. As of today, Stadia is slated to have 120 games come to the platform in 2020, with about only 40 games currently existing as of today's date. In comparison, Nintendo had around 300 titles by the end of their first year. And while Stadia has only been around for 6 months, the lack of titles does leave a hole currently. But let's talk about the games it does have. Google Stadia does have rock-solid titles like the recently released Doom Eternal, as well as a bevy of Ubisoft titles like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Division 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, as well as upcoming powerhouse titles slated to come to the system like Cyberpunk 2077, the Marvel's Avenger game. Stadia also has full support of indie developers, with a handful of indie games not just released like the exclusive title Guild, but others set to come to this platform exclusively on Stadia. So overall, the outlook looks promising, but Stadia does take a hit currently in the games department, as the library of games still needs a lot of love. But how about that gameplay? How do the games run on Stadia? There is a huge mix here, from games like Red Dead Redemption leaving a lot to be desired, but Grim and Doom Eternal running and looking beautiful on this platform. The games across the board, with a few exceptions, run excellent and look gorgeous. From the TV to playing on your phone, you're getting quality visuals. The gameplay itself from game to game will require fast, precision button pressing like a Borderlands or Darksiders Genesis, and with Stadia I don't feel like I'm playing over the cloud at all. At times you have to remind yourself you're only streaming a game, which is absolutely insane. I personally, as a PC gamer, couldn't believe how well this works, as you can see how precise the button is to the action happening on the screen. When the system first launched up until this day, I've rarely had any hiccups, and I haven't reported any problems in the past 5 months as far as lag or input latency is concerned. The experience from a gameplay standpoint has been almost nearly flawless for me, which is a marvel when you do consider this is a service that streams your games and you're not running it on local hardware. But at this point, if you're wondering why should I invest in Stadia, let's take a look at both the pros and cons as a whole, starting with the pros. With Stadia, you no longer have to worry about system updates or downloads. Once a brand new game launches worldwide, for example like Doom Eternal, right at midnight you can start playing that game. You don't have to worry about running out of storage by downloading too many games onto your computer or console. You no longer have to worry about long system updates like you would with a traditional console like Xbox or PS4. Not only that, but load times are insanely fast. From the moment you start up your game with Stadia, you can be in your game within 20 to 50 seconds and gaming right away, versus a traditional console could take minutes before you're finally in the action. Another added benefit is the flexibility you control when playing on a cloud gaming service like Google Stadia. No longer are you tethered to just your TV or your monitor to game. Does the kids or wife or husband need the living room TV? Does your spouse need access to the computer? You can literally switch between your gaming screens and not lose your place in the game. There is no other service in the world other than cloud gaming that lets you game completely unshackled on any single device, from your TV, monitor, phone, or tablet. You can game anywhere at any time on tons of devices, as long as you have that required connection. You also don't have to worry about paying to access online multiplayer lobbies if you own the game on Stadia. On other consoles, you have to pay to access multiplayer lobbies unless the game is free to play. On Stadia, even on the free base, you don't pay to play with or against others online. And while the games are lacking now, Stadia has at least 3 of its own studios creating games as we speak. Games that will fully utilize the use of the power of the cloud. Like, for example, 500 or more orcs on a single screen in the new title coming out in 2020 in Orcs Must Die 3. Something you can optimize with a gaming console or PC. So with the first-party exclusives coming out to this platform, you can feel confident that the investment on the game side of this thing is being done. Not to mention, you no longer have to worry about upgrading to the next-gen console, so the games you do purchase will always be playable on this platform no matter what. And last but not least is the exclusive features not seen anywhere else, like Stream Connect, the ability to watch your teammates' actions on your screen. A feature in itself that is a game changer. Other features still coming in the pipeline like Crowd Play, where you can play with other creators live from their YouTube channels, or Crowd Share, where you can save your game at a certain point and let someone else start from that same scenario you left off at. There is a robust set of features that you haven't seen on other gaming outlets, and this does make Stadia stand out. But as for the cons, there is a good list to go through here as well. For one, this is a platform that requires internet. You cannot play your games offline. So if your internet happens to go out, or you're stuck in a place that has a bad connection, you won't be able to play your games you've purchased. On top of that, if you happen to live in an area with data caps, you could have to pay extra if you're a heavy gamer who plays in a lot of 4K. This is also not a platform for competitive gaming. While latency is extremely low, to the point where I never feel it, this is probably not going to be your go-to platform for the ultra competitive. But keep in mind that a lot of games that you play versus other players, you will only play versus others on Stadia. A game like Destiny 2, for example. So there is still a market for casual player versus player experience on Stadia. Now, the system is still missing features like the Google Assistant working in its full capacity, as well as Stadia itself not supported on every single Android device still. While you can use a workaround if you don't own one of these selected phones, we're still waiting for that full rollout to more devices, including tablets and Apple products. And last on my list is the biggest negative in my mind, and that is just the games that I already talked about. This is not a Netflix for games, but I do think to compete down the line, they will have to introduce some form of that in their pricing model. Right now, Stadia lacks the games, and while there is big titles coming, it still needs a lot more to really feel extremely confident in the investment of this platform, as well as some games not running in the true native 4K, but in some cases upscaled from a lower resolution. As of this video, we have not heard why the developers have not been putting out their titles in true native 4K, but hopefully this is something that does get resolved soon. With all that said, my final take is this. As a guy who didn't believe cloud gaming was ready for another 5 years or more, it's been a life changer. As a guy in his 30s with a full-time job and a busy life, this platform was tailor-made for me. The ease of jumping into a game without dealing with any updates and extremely fast load times, not being stuck on one screen, and being able to switch between devices so that the family can use whatever they want and I can game anytime I feel without taking up the TV or computer when others need it, has been amazing to experience. Fact is, all my gaming has now been done through Stadia, and while I'm still going to be a PC gamer, I can safely say that with cloud gaming, with the likes of this platform. The technology is here. And while this isn't a perfect service by any means, and it won't be for everyone, I think you can appreciate Stadia for what it is. Another solid platform that brings the ease of gaming into the world that has been increasingly demanding, especially in this day and age we live in. I've never been able to sneak in so much gaming since I was a child because this platform was meant for the busy individual who loves to game. I do fully recommend Stadia as a platform of choice or as a supplement to your gaming lifestyle, and can easily be used to be that extra addition if you're a console gamer or a PC gamer, by keeping you completely free from the confines of a computer desk or a couch. And if you want to make this the only platform you use, well, I also feel confident that you're making a good choice, as you never have to worry about upgrading ever again. But alright guys, let me know in the comments if you've been enjoying Stadia, or if you don't care for cloud gaming, or any points that I've made in this video. Either way, I want to hear your thoughts, and if you guys could do me a huge favor and smash that like button, I'd really appreciate it. Sub to this channel for more Stadia and cloud gaming coverage, as well as hit that notification bell. Follow me on Twitter and check out my Twitch channel as well. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Sunny, and I'll catch you guys in the cloud.